Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1 million by 1 million online rendezvous. This is Sramana Mitra, founder and CEO of 1M by 1M, coming to you live from Silicon Valley, California. We are broadcasting on LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live, Twitter Live. And so good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. 1 million by 1 million, as you know, is the first and only global virtual accelerator for technology startups in the world. We work on tech and tech-enabled services only, and that is information technology. We do not do biotech, we do not do manufacturing, and we do not do a whole lot of other things. Our expertise is entirely in information technology. And within that spectrum, we do everything. We do e-commerce, we do cloud computing, we do SaaS, PaaS, big data, AI, information, IoT, Internet of Things, healthcare IT, online education, whatever you name it, we pretty much do everything within IT. Our methodology is bootstrap first, raise money later. So we do not like very capital intensive companies that need a lot of capital out of the gate. So you will hear this over and over as we go through the session today. In these sessions, what I've been doing is answering questions. So we'll do that today as well. And today's focus is going to be on rejection. We've got a lot of questions lately on getting rejected from various efforts in your entrepreneurial journey, whether getting rejected from Y Combinator or getting rejected from VCs, etc. So we're going to double click down on the rejection topic in a lot more depth and look at it from various different points and address how you can deal with A, mitigating your chances of rejection, and B, dealing with rejection, and how can you cope? How can you move forward? A rejection is not the end of your road. Remember, Mark Benioff of Salesforce.com fame got rejected by 27 VCs in 1999. So even the best of companies get rejected. It is a part of an entrepreneur's journey. So we're going to have to take that in stride, and I'm going to focus on how to take that in stride and also how to reduce the probability of getting rejected. Those of you who are looking for feedback on your specific projects, your company, your business, we do that, not in this session, but we do that in our online roundtables. That happens on Thursday morning. So you can go to 1mby1m.com, our website, and go to free public roundtables. You'll find the entire roster of public roundtables coming up there. And you can pick your slot. Maureen will be in touch with you, telling you how to participate. So by all means, bring your project, and it's a safe working session. We'll just work, brainstorm on your project, your strategy, and so forth. Okay, let's go to our first question today. Is there a way to increase the chance of getting into Y Combinator? So the rejection theme, but this is kind of trying to increase the probability of getting into Y Combinator. You know, what you should think about is the motivation of Y Combinator. What are they looking for as you prepare? Y Combinator is a small venture fund. They invest small amounts of seed money. They take equity in your venture, and they behave exactly like seed stage VCs. They want to invest in validated businesses. So one of the case studies we teach is of Jas Grewal and CareScore. You know, I've done quite a few case studies of people who got into Y Combinator, and one theme that has come up over and over again, and that's why I offer it to you as a method of mitigating getting rejected or mitigating the probability of getting rejected, increasing the probability of getting accepted, is bootstrapping with a paycheck. So in Jas Grewal's case, he bootstrapped CareScore with a paycheck for 2 years. Jas's product was going to be sold to hospitals. So he spoke with 30 hospitals to validate his idea and managed to get 2 customers before applying to Y Combinator. While at Y Combinator, he did 160 customer presentations. On demo day, he raised 4.5 million in funding. Now, if you try to apply to Y Combinator with just a concept, you won't get in. If you get in with a half-baked concept, you won't raise funding on demo day. As it is, the chances of you getting in is very low, but if you do somehow manage to get in, you will not raise funding on demo day. If you would basically waste the time. It's a very short window, 3 months is what you spend in Y Combinator. So our recommendation is spend a couple of years bootstrapping with a paycheck. Build your first version product, MVP, version 1, get a few customers going, understand the business, and you don't need to necessarily part with any equity. Validate, generate traction in a bootstrapped mode, bootstrapping using a paycheck. Then apply to Y Combinator. You can work with a non-equity accelerator. 1 million by 1 million is a non-equity accelerator. During the 2 years that you're preparing to apply to Y Combinator, you can work with us and we will, help you through that process. The early learning process, we can help you through. You don't part with any equity and you fortify yourself such that by the time you have your ducks lined up, you can apply to Y Combinator and get your seed funding through them. And they are a very good accelerator. They have tremendous network and you can access that network. But if you apply too early, the chances of your getting rejected is very high. So my pointer would be bootstrapping using a paycheck. I would like you to go to the 1M by 1M website and then go to the blog. You will, if you do a search on bootstrapping course, it will bring you to a 1-hour video course on bootstrapping that I did for LinkedIn. It's a very popular course and it's very succinct, but it talks about the aspects, including bootstrapping using a paycheck. So go to that module, bootstrapping using a paycheck, and learn it. There are 2 other case studies we teach in our program. One is that of a story of bootstrapping using a paycheck to Y Combinator and then 10 million Series A, that is Ryan Chan, CEO of Upkeep. And then we also have bootstrapping with a paycheck to Techstars, Naveen Shetty, CEO of Blueprint Registry. So I would say the conclusion that I have arrived at from observing a whole lot of entrepreneurs, including Jas, Ryan, Naveen, these guys have figured something out, and it's something that you can learn from and you can replicate. And the bottom line is that you can get yourself further along by bootstrapping and then apply to Y Combinator, and your chances of acceptance are much, much higher. Okay? A corollary question is, what can entrepreneurs do once their applications have been rejected by Y Combinator? This is also a very likely scenario. Y Combinator has a 97% plus rejection rate. So the chances that you're going to be rejected is very high. That doesn't mean you're not going to be successful as a company. So I'm going to give you a bunch of resources to work with. Number 1 is the 1M by 1M self-assessment. You need to understand why you got rejected. So I would say go to 1mby1m.com. On the top navigation panel, you will find self-assessment. This is a series of questions, strategic planning questions, due diligence questions, and you need to be able to answer them satisfactorily to get into Y Combinator, to raise money, etc., I would say you should try to figure out what is missing in your story. And the other thing you should do is the bootstrapping course that I just talked about. It's a free 1-hour course. Go do that course. Go to the website, look for the bootstrapping course. On the blog, it's on the blog. It's a multi-part series, published as a multi-part series on the blog. And you should be able to just do a search on bootstrapping course Sramana Mitra. You should be able to find it, and you should do this course. The other option, or following that, you are welcome to join 1 Million by 1 Million. We are a non-equity accelerator, and we will help you through the learning part of the journey and coach you through how to reapply once you are further along and your story can be better told. Very often the applications don't fully tell the story in a way that results in funding or results in acceptance at a Y Combinator or Techstars or an accelerator that is willing to give you substantial amounts of money. So that's what I would point you to. Another question, related question, is it true that you can qualify for Y Combinator with just an idea and nothing else? This couldn't be wrong. You know, this is incredibly, incredibly wrong. No, you cannot get accepted by Y Combinator with no idea. I mean, no validation besides an idea. There are maybe a couple of exceptions. You may have track record. You have built a company before that you have exited successfully and made money for investors, and you're coming in with an idea that you can stand behind because maybe you have great domain knowledge or something. That's a scenario where you may be accepted because you have a certain differentiated unfair advantage, and that may be something they're willing to support. Or you may be a first-time entrepreneur, but you are a world-class domain expert in something special. So, you know, there's some field in which you are, maybe you and your co-founder are the two researchers in a domain at MIT, and that is the final word. You have patents, and you are really the people, the go-to people on this topic. And there you have an idea that you want to build a company around. That kind of scenario, maybe you can get accepted. But for the vast majority of entrepreneurs out there who are just trying to build a regular business, the chances of you getting accepted with just an idea is very low, if not zero. Another question, can you be accepted into Y Combinator as a solo founder? Again, the answer is no. Y Combinator and most investors prefer a couple of founders. There is an exception. If you're far enough along, then you can get accepted on the strength of your business, on the strength of the fact that you have a business that is validated and you are getting traction, you have customers and so forth. That is a scenario. And you have built a team already, perhaps a little bit of a team, or, you know, even if you haven't, if you have a business that is already validated and is showing traction, you can get accepted. So if you are working as a solo founder, again, you know, you can come to 1 Million by 1 Million. We have nothing against solo founders. We love solo founders. We believe that every founder starts as a solo founder. We are very, very big believers in bootstrapping with a paycheck as a solo founder, and, you know, nifty ways of navigating the early stages of building a company. So we have no qualms in accepting you, and we will help you as far as possible, and then, you know, connect you into the follow-on resources. Y Combinator is treated as a follow-on resource. It's not the earliest stage venture building platform. We are, You can come to us with just an idea on a napkin, which is very unusual in accelerators. And we have the full infrastructure to shepherd you through the process of how to flesh out your idea, how to validate your idea, and how to turn your idea into a company, a business, and eventually a validated business that can attract additional rounds of resources. Funding being one of them. Y Combinator does give you funding. Okay, the next question is another rejection question. What would be your advice for entrepreneurs repeatedly rejected by VCs? Do not go to VCs prematurely. It's very difficult to get repeat meetings with VCs who have rejected you. I mean, it will take you 6 months, at least maybe 9 months, 12 months before you get a repeat meeting with an investor. So don't blow your cartridge by going to investors prematurely. If you go as a king, not as a beggar. This is the philosophy of 1 million by 1 million. Do not go to VCs as beggars. Go as kings. And that means you need to bootstrap your business up to a point of validation and fleshing out such that you can, attract their attention. So if you're getting rejected, again, go to the self-assessment and assess why you're getting rejected. What is missing? The other thing to remember is investors generally only consider deals coming through their trusted networks. If you're looking for introductions to investors, you can look at joining the 1M by 1M Premium program. We would coach you through the process and make the necessary introductions when you're ready. Remember, investors are looking to multiply the money that they put into startups. A question you could be asking is multiply by how much? 2x, 3x, 5x, 10x, 20x? This question determines the strategies of what they're looking to do. Are they looking for unicorns? That means, are they trying to build companies with billion-dollar market caps? And that means they're trying to go from 0 to 100 million in revenue in 5 to 7 years. Or are they looking for early exits? That means selling capital-efficient startups and make a lower multiple, but nonetheless have a successful outcome. For this, read Bootstrapping to an Exit in this context. We strongly suggest you read the 1M by 1M Seed Capital series of interviews or listen to the podcasts. We have them available on our YouTube channel. Every single roundtable has an investor interview almost. Not every, but most of them. The podcasts, the 1M by 1M Entrepreneurship podcast, you can find them on Apple and other podcast platforms. Listen to investors. Listen to how they explain their investment thesis. That way you learn how investors think. And knowing how investor thinks help you sell to them. Just like you're looking for product market fit, you're going to need to look for investor entrepreneur fit. A seed investor looking for a unicorn won't invest in a capital efficient startup that is better suited for a $30 million exit, and vice versa. So if you haven't raised money before, understanding the fundamentals of how to raise money would be helpful. And that's why I'm giving you all these, pointers. So if you go to the website, you'll find investor introduction on our website, 1mby1m.com. And that's where you can learn more about all of these topics. Next question, we'll go to slightly something different. If you had $100,000 to start a business, what would it be and why? Well, the good news is you can start a business for small amounts of money these days. All tech businesses can be location independent, so you don't need to do something in a very expensive part of the world like a Silicon Valley or New York. And you can run as a virtual company. It's very accepted now to run a virtual company. So investors, even in Silicon Valley, are perfectly okay with virtual companies. So if you're running a company out of Montana or Vermont or Ukraine, chances are, if you have the right things, right proof points, you can raise money from Silicon Valley. Now, specifically on what business to start, let me give you a few thoughts. It really depends on your expertise. Within tech, which is my domain, there are opportunities all over the place. I have published some of my observations on open spaces. You can look for a post called 8 Startup Ideas for the Post-COVID World. If you search on that name, 8 Startup Ideas for the Post-COVID World and Sramana Mitra, on Google, you will land on that page, and there are 8 really, powerful startup ideas, big ideas. But you have to ask a few questions. What, why now, and why me? So what is it that you want to do? Why should you do that now? And this is where, if you read my startup ideas, you will see that I've leveraged the timing. What is happening in the post-COVID world? What are the trends of the post-COVID world? And I've written ideas that align with the trends and the dynamics of the post-COVID world. And then why me? What is your expertise? You should ask, do I have an unfair advantage in what I'm trying to do? Or would somebody else be better suited for this idea? Like one of the ideas you will encounter on that piece is for artists and art collectors. In my judgment, that idea would be perfectly suited for people who have been in the art collection world, or fine art and art collection world. Somebody who has worked for an auction house, perhaps, or an art gallery that works with collectors. So having domain expertise, having an unfair advantage is very important in making something happen. Thoroughly research the competitive landscape and your competitive advantage in that landscape, and find the gap. If you need to learn methodology, again, go back to that bootstrapping course. It's a very good starting point. Among other things, you will learn not to think of 100K as the only capital to start with. Remember, we said, what can you do with $100,000? I want you to start thinking about 100K as only part of the capital that you're starting with. In the bootstrapping course, if you look at bootstrapping using a paycheck, I've discussed how to keep your day job and start building on your startup on the side until you get substantial validation. So you have your 100K plus you have your paycheck. So let's say you have a couple of years of this mode of business building. You can get a lot done with 100K. Even if you have 10K, you can get a lot done if you're doing a bootstrapping using a paycheck scenario. So that would be my guidance to somebody who has a small amount of capital. Extend your runway. By the way, what would it be? What kind of a business? Another set of pointers I want to give you is the whole PaaS trend. If you come from the technology side of the business and you want to really build a B2B SaaS company, I would strongly urge you to look at the platform as a service trend and look for a platform that you can build an app on. So Salesforce.com, of course, has platforms. Atlassian has a platform that you can build on, and look for a platform as a service that also has a marketplace. Atlassian does have a marketplace. Shopify has a platform and a marketplace. So look for that dynamic and see if you can piggyback on somebody else's platform. So this is where the concept of bootstrapping by piggybacking comes in. Again, do a Google search, bootstrapping by piggybacking Sramana Mitra, and you will find a whole body of writing on this topic, and you can start researching that. I think it is a very legitimate way of building companies, and in a very cost-effective way. And one example that I really love is Viva, which is today a multi-billion-dollar company, very, very successful company. This company was bootstrapped on top of the Salesforce.com platform. And they built this company for kind of like $4 million in total capitalization. And they raised more money later, but they didn't really need that money. They were making so much revenue, and they were profitable and everything. So that is a great role model you have to build something interesting. Okay, I'm going to go to the last question, which is how can I get feedback from you on my venture? Well, 1M by 1M offers free online mentoring roundtables for entrepreneurs looking to discuss positioning, financing, and all other aspects of building a startup. Up to 5 entrepreneurs who register to pitch will be able to present their businesses. They will gain straightforward feedback, advice on next steps, and answers to questions from me as well as possibly one of my guests. I normally have VCs and CEOs as guests. You can register to attend, to listen, learn, and join in on the conversation via a live chat. All who register will receive the recording by email the next day. Even if you miss the live session, you will have access to the recording. So go ahead and go to the free public roundtable section of our website. Go to 1mby1m.com. Go to the top navigation bar where you will find free public roundtable. And those who register to pitch will receive instructions on the preparation required, including a roundtable slides pitch template. We also recommend using the 1M by 1M self-assessment tool to help prepare to pitch. If you are interested in being introduced to investors, please go through the investor introduction section of the website. Several entrepreneurs interested in pitching have first expanded their knowledge of the essential components of building a startup by joining our monthly 1M by 1M basic program and going through the 1M by 1M curriculum, which is extensive, many hundred hours worth of curriculum, and you can pretty much learn everything you need to learn by joining the 1M by 1M basic program. And then if you come to the roundtables to talk to me, you get a lot more out of those interactions. If you want the full acceleration program where you get mentoring every week, that would be our 1M by 1M premium program. And investor introductions are also part of the 1M by 1M premium program. You're most welcome to use 1M by 1M for investor introductions. We do have a very, very strong investor network. So, start with the free bootstrapping course, use the self-assessment, use the roundtables, use 1M by 1M basic, use 1M by 1M premium, use the investor introductions, and use all these resources, and you will by all means be able to put one foot before the other in a logical way. And bootstrapping with a paycheck is just fine as far as we are concerned. And it's a very good way to mitigate rejections from the big accelerators like Y Combinator, Techstars, who give you funding. They are basically venture funds, small venture funds, and also VCs in general. There are 1,000 VCs that do not have accelerators of their own, and you can use us as the accelerator and then access them for the funding. That is all for today. Folks, please stay safe. The pandemic is not in a good place. And in a lot of places, in a lot of America, in France, in a lot of parts of Europe, the pandemic is in a very bad condition. So I hope you all take care of yourselves, stay safe, work from home, stay at home if you can, shelter in place as much as possible, avoid exposure, and just make a lot of progress. I saw somewhere that entrepreneurship has boomed in the COVID process. That's good because people who are stuck at home and not able to socialize and party and so forth are thinking about how to start a company. Hey, that's great. That's really healthy. We are very happy if that's the direction you're taking, and we're very happy to help you in your journey. Thank you for coming today. We will see you soon. Bye.